Hi, in this particular video we're going to be looking at some revision questions which are aimed at about grade 4, grade 5 for GCSE. Shouldn't take more than about 20-30 minutes or so, but please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions. All of these questions are really popular within GCSE. Foundation towards the end of the paper and higher round about the beginning towards the middle. They are also non-calculators, so please do have a go. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you need any help, please do add a comment below. Always come back to you. I'll look forward to seeing you inside the video. Hi, this is a higher non-calculator quick test paper. Please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions, then compare your solutions. Okay, I'm going to aim to get through the whole of this these 10 questions in this particular video. So we've got 4y squared equals 196, find the value of y. Well, what we're going to do first is we're going to divide through by 4. If we divide through by 4, we get y squared equals 196 over 4. Okay, now that's a calculation that I personally would do using short division. You might do it slightly differently to me, but whatever result you get from it, hopefully you'll get that y squared equals 49. Okay, now from there, the square root of 49 is 7, but you've also got to remember it's minus 7. So therefore, on this particular question, we can say that y equals plus or minus 7. Okay, let's have a look at the next one then. So express 210 as a product of its prime factors. So very typically with these sorts of questions, you would use a factor tree. I do see people using short division and that sort of thing with these. Perfectly fine, not a problem at all. Again, I personally would use a factor tree and I would just divide through or work out the prime factors. And as you can see here, I can work fairly steadily through. Okay, and what I'm ending up with really is like a hockey stick kind of approach. So therefore I can then write out that the prime factors of 210 are going to be equal to 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. And if I want to check that, I've got 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 5 is 30, and 30 times 7 is 210. Okay, let's move on then to question number 3. So a plastic cuboid has a density of that, the volume of the cuboid is that, calculate the mass. So basically you need to know the formula for working out density. Now I would use density equals mass over volume. Now I am aware that some people use little triangles and all sorts of things for these. That's perfectly fine if that's what you do. However, for me, the way I remember it is I've got density. The units are grams, which are measurement of mass, or weight if you like, and centimetres cubed is a measurement of volume. And the per bit over here means over, so mass divided by volume. Okay, so density is 0.8 in this particular case, and I've got mass is what I'm actually looking for, and the volume I've been told is 400. So really all I need to do now is work out 0.8 times 400, and that would give me the mass. So mass equals 0.8 times 400. Okay, now again, what I would do is I would ignore the decimal point. So 8 times 400 is going to be 3,200. But then because it's 0.8, I need to bring the decimal point back one place. So it's going to be 320 grams equals the mass. Okay, if you're not sure about anything that I'm saying here, and I'm going through this fairly quickly, please do add a comment below. I've got quite a lot of playlists on the channel. I can always send you through a link to a playlist to practice. Okay, let's go on to the final one. Then it says or rather the final one on this side. It says a wooden block has a mass of that, correct to the nearest gram. What's the greatest possible? What's the least possible? They're basically talking about bounds or tolerances. So you've got 168, okay, and the lower bound on that is going to be 167.5, and the upper bound is going to be 168.5. Okay, now this is not rounding. What we're doing is we're basically saying that the mass of the block, if you like, if we put it there, mass is going to be less than 168.5, or it's going to be greater than or equal to 167.5. And that would be the answer to that particular question if you've been asked to write it in that form, or you could just write it out as least and most, and that would be perfectly fine as well. Okay, let's move on then to question number 5. So question number 5 looks at standard form. Okay, quite popular. It's going to show up on a lot of papers, particularly non-calculator papers. You're going to get standard form on a fairly regular basis. So with this particular one, what's that? 213,000 in standard form. Well, the first number needs to be between 1 and 9 before you start with a decimal point. And then basically all you're saying is I've moved the decimal point once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, so it's times 10 to the power of 5. And that's really all standard form is. It's all about showing how long or how far you've moved the decimal point. So in this particular case, it's going to be 6.7. And I've moved it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, but it's in the other direction, the negative direction, so it's 10 to the power of minus 6. Okay, part C is a bit of a sneaky one, really. 22 times 10 to the 7 isn't in standard form because, as I mentioned before, we've got to make the first digit before the decimal point between 1 and 9. So I'd write that as 2.2, but I've actually moved the decimal point one more place, so it's 10 to the power of 8. And that would be the answer to that particular question. Okay, let's move on then to estimation. So estimation is all about writing these to one significant figure. So rather than writing 718, I'm going to write that as 700. And rather than writing 6.12, it's going to be 6. And the bottom is going to be 0.2. Remember, the first significant figure is 1. I've got to change that to 2 because of the 9 afterwards. Again, if you're not sure, let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's just work that out. I'm going to get 4,200 divided by 0.2. Is a bit tricky, but basically what I would do is I would multiply top and bottom by 10. Now, if I do that, it means the bottom becomes 2. It's an awful lot easier to divide by 2 than it is to divide by 0.2. So I'm happy with that. And all I've done is I've really multiplied that by 10. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 10 by adding a 0 on the end. So it's 42000. Okay. Now, if I divide through by 2, that's relatively straightforward. It's going to give me an answer of 21,000, and that would be the answer to that particular question. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Roughly the same in the way that we do it. It's going to be 7 times 300 divided by 0.5. So that's going to give me 2,100 over 0.5. Okay, don't want to divide by 0.5. What I want to do is I want to multiply that through by 10 rather, so that's going to be 5, and this would be 21000. Okay, and if I divide that through by 5, and I would do that just using short division, and that's going to get me 4,200. Okay, the other way you could do that is you could look at this sum just by inspection, and you could actually say, well, how many halves are there in 2,100? Well, there's actually 4,200 halves in there. So whichever way you do it, if you do a little calculation like that and you do a bit of short division, that's perfectly fine as well. And actually number 7 is all about calculation. It seems very, very wordy, and there's an awful lot going on with this particular question. But what we would do is take it a bit at a time. So a machine makes 54 car steering wheels every hour. it makes them for 7.5 hours each day on 6 days of the week. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how many steering wheels it makes per day. Okay, so the way I would do that is I would actually say, well, I want to work out 54 times 7, which is 7 hours. And if I calculate that out, I'm going to get 378. But per day, because it's 7.5 hours, it's 378 in 7 hours. And then I've got an extra half an hour. So it's going to make half the quantity of steering wheels, which is going to be 27. So if I add those together, I get 405 steering wheels per day. That's a lot of steering wheels. Okay, so over a week, if they are running 6 days a week, it's going to be 405 times 6. So per week, it's going to be equal to 405 multiplied by 6, and that's going to give me 2430. And again, I'm very aware I'm doing these calculations very quick. I've already done them, but you might do a slightly different calculation, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, however, what we are interested in is we've got 2,430 steering wheels that we need to pack into boxes, and each box holds 15. So basically, the sum is going to be, to work out the boxes, is going to be 2430 divided by 15. Now, again, you might do long division. You could do that at this particular point if you wanted to. I personally would sort of make it a little bit easier by recognizing that actually I can reduce this through, if I wanted to, and divide top and bottom by 5. So the bottom becomes 3, the top becomes 5 into 2430, and that would work out at 486. So that's 486. So all I've done there is divided top and bottom by 5, and that works out just a little bit of an easier sum, because now what I can actually say is that's going to be then 3 into 486, which will work out at 162. So actually needs 162 boxes. Okay, so that particular question is all calculation. It's just one of those things where you've got to just work it through fairly methodically, take your time working through it, and hopefully you'll come out with something that works for the examiner. Okay, let's move on then to question number 8. So question number 8 is all about completing a table of values. Okay, so here's my table of values. And I've got X's and Y's, and I've also got an equation. And all I've got to do is complete the table of values by basically feeding the values of X into the equation. So there's a little bit of space at the very top here. I'm just going to use this very top of this piece of paper, and I'm basically going to say, well, if I want to work out minus 3, I'm going to say y equals minus 3 squared minus 3 minus 2. So all I've done is I've said it's minus 3 squared for the value of X, minus 3 for the value of X, and then minus 2. So what that's going to give me is going to be minus 3 squared is 9, and you've got to be careful, minus and minus is a plus, so it's 9 plus 3 minus 2, which is equal to 10. So when X is minus 3, Y is equal to 10. Okay, and really all we do is we follow the same pattern with all the other numbers as well. So if we look at when X equals minus 2, we've got minus 2 squared minus 2 minus 2, okay? I appreciate there's an awful lot of brackets and minuses floating around, but it is better to keep these separate if you can. So minus 2 squared is going to be 4, because a minus times a minus is a plus. 4 minus minus is plus 2 minus 2. Okay, so that's going to give me 4 plus 2 is 6, and 6 minus 2 is going to be 4, and that would be the value. Okay, so let's move on then to when X is equal to 0. Well, that one's fairly straightforward, because when X is equal to 0, 0 squared is 0, minus 0 minus 2. So actually Y is going to be equal to minus 2. Okay, and then the final 2 that we've got is going to be when X is equal to 2. So again, right at the very top, I'm going to write 2 squared minus brackets 2 minus 2. Okay, so 2 squared is going to be 4 minus 2 minus 2. Well, that's going to equal 0. So when x is 2, y is equal to 0. Okay, and then the very final one, I think, at the moment is when y equals, I beg your pardon, x equals 3 squared minus 3 minus 2. So 3 squared is going to equal 9, minus 3 minus 2 is going to equal 4. Okay, so y is going to equal 4. All right, now what it'll allow us to do is to actually plot those points. Now, let's have a look on the, it says on the grid, draw the graph of this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to end up with minus 3, 10. Well, this particular grid, 10 is actually up here. Just be a bit careful because this is the value of 9. It's just the way the grid's been drawn out. Okay, minus 2, 4, which is this coordinate here. So minus 2, 4. And then I've got, hopefully you can see this. I'll try and put this on the screen as best I can. Okay, and then I've also got minus 1, 0. I've got then 0 minus 2. Hopefully you can see I'm just tracking through each of these at the top of the screen here. I've got 1 minus 2, so that's going to be 1 minus 2 again. Okay, then I've got 2, 0 is there, and then I've got 3 and 4. Okay, what I'm going to do actually, just for completeness on this, I'm going to actually work out the value of y when x equals 4. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is because I think it'll finish this graph off a bit neater. There's no requirement for you to do that. It's just good practice to kind of just try to complete the graph a little bit on the grid if you want to. And maybe on some papers that would get you extra marks. Okay, so I'm going to write in here that when y equals, or rather when x equals 4, y equals 4 squared minus 4 minus 2. So that's going to be 16. 16 minus 4 minus 2 is going to be 10. So actually, y is going to equal 10. So we've come along to 4, and we're going to go up to 10 again, which is up there. All right, well, as you can see then, what we've got is a very nice kind of quadratic graph. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do this justice on the actual video. Now remember, at the bottom of a quadratic it curves. Okay, it's really important. I do see lots of students where they draw a kind of a flat line between those 2 points. It doesn't, it's a curve. It's really important that you see these curves at the bottom of quadratic equations. Actually, if you didn't draw a curve, I would imagine you might lose a mark on a test. I'm not entirely sure, it depends on the board, but you know, they can get a little bit strict on these things. Okay, so the first thing is use the graph to estimate the value of x when y, now actually on my copy, it's when y equals 4. I'm so sorry about that. I will change that and make sure that you've got that. So when y equals 4. Okay, so all we're going to do with that is we're going to draw the line across of when y equals 4, okay? And then all we do is we take these values, okay? So these two values where the line crosses is going to be, the value of x is going to be minus 2, so x equals minus 2, and the value of x when it crosses on the other side is going to be, the value of x is 3, okay? Appreciate that's not come across particularly well on the screen, but hopefully you'll get some idea. It's a bit difficult to squeeze this in, I'm afraid. Okay, and then the final one, which is the bit with the curve at the bottom, it says use the graph to estimate the turning point. So the turning point is actually this point right at the very bottom. Okay, now this point's right at the very bottom. We've got x equals 0.5, so x equals a half. Okay, and y equals, it's actually not quite 2.5, so I'm actually going to put it down as minus 2.25. So I'm going to write that as 0.5 and minus 2.25. Okay, so it doesn't have to be amazingly accurate with these things. They will give you quite a bit of leeway on these types of questions, just to make sure that you're okay with them. Don't worry about it. Providing you've drawn your graph accurately, you should be okay. All right, let's move on then to question number 9. Okay, question number 9. So that's going to be, okay, here. All righty, so question number 9 is going to be here. It says, find the equation of the straight line which passes through the points 3, 2 and 5, 6. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to look at the gradient of the line that passes through. So as you know, gradient is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So basically we've got something like this. The point 3, 2 is going to be about here. So this would be 3 and this would be 2. And the point 5, 6 is going to be, say, 5 and 6, something like that. And we've got this line. Okay, so to work out the gradient, we're going to look at the difference in y, which is this one, divided by the difference in x, which is this one. And the way we write that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so that would be 6 for y2 and 2 for y1. So 6 minus 2 divided by 5 minus 3. Okay, so that's going to give us 4 over 2. So the gradient of the line is actually 2. And remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a way of writing it in the form of y equals mx plus c. So we've actually got the gradient, and we can at the moment write y equals 2x plus c. Okay, so the final thing we need to do is work out the value of c. In other words, the value at which the line crosses the y-intercept. Now, I have a feeling I've not drawn that particularly well, but, you know, let's work it out and see where it actually does cross the line. And the way we do that is we take these coordinates, okay, or one of the pairs of coordinates. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use the first one, and I'm going to say, well, I know y equals 2x plus c. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this coordinate directly into here. So I've got 2 equals 2 times 3 plus c, which is y is 2 and x is 3. So 2 equals 6 plus c. Take away 6 from both sides. C must equal minus 4. So actually what I've got now is the equation of the line, which is y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, now if you have time, what you could do is you could just check that with the second set of coordinates. And all I'll do is, again, I'm going to write y equals 2x plus c. But this time I'm going to use the second set of coordinates. So I'm going to say 6 equals 2 times 5 plus c. So 6 equals 10 plus c. So therefore c must equal minus 4. So if you've got time, you could just check those coordinates. Okay, so hopefully that's okay for you. It is a case really just working out the gradient first and then working out the value of c, which is the y-intercept, and also realizing, in my particular case, my sketch has been a little bit off. This should be the value of minus 4, and it's probably down here somewhere, so my line probably goes something like that. Okay, so apologies for that, but you know, it's just a sketch. All right, let's move on then to the final question. So we're about 22 minutes into the video. We're going to aim to finish this in a few minutes or so, not least because I think the battery on my my phone here is going to go in a minute. Okay, so ABC is a triangle. Angle A is that, angle B is that, and angle C is that. So the easiest way of doing this is to draw a little sketch of A, B, and C. Okay, so I've got A, B, and C. And what it says is angle A is 8x plus 5. Angle B is going to be 4x plus 6. And angle C is going to be 5x minus 1. What we've got to do is find the value of x first and then find the value in degrees of each angle. Well, okay, so all the internal angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So what we can do is we can add all of these expressions together and make them equal to 180 degrees. So 4x plus 6 plus 5x minus 1, and all of that equals 180. And then really it's just a case of solving this equation. So let's look at gathering the like terms together. Well, I've got 8x plus 4x plus 5x is going to give me 17x. I've got 5 plus 6 is 11, minus 1 is plus 10, and that equals 180. Okay, minus 10 from both sides, I get 17x equals 170. Divide by 17, x equals 10. So that is the answer to the first question. Okay, the second part of it is we're going to work out the value of each of the angles. So angle A is going to be 8x plus 5. Okay, well that's going to be 8 times 10 plus 5, so that's going to be 85 degrees. Okay, angle B, that's going to be 4x plus 6, which equals 4 times 10 plus 6, which is going to be 46 degrees. And angle C is going to be 5 times x minus 1. Okay, well that's going to be 5 times 10 minus 1, which is 49 degrees. And that's the answer to part B of this question. Okay, now if you wanted to, again, you could just very quickly work out that 85 plus 46 plus 49 all adds up to 180 degrees, so that you know that you're correct with that particular question. Okay, so this is the end of the video. I hope it's been useful to you. If you're not sure about anything, always please do leave a comment. I'll come back to you. There's quite a few playlists on the channel that I can always provide links through for you, and that'll give you a few more practice questions, particularly some of the questions on equations, finding unknown angles and all that sort of stuff. There's quite a few on the site. Okay, I look forward to seeing you inside the next video.